Guys, I'm not gonna fib. This is a bit of an uncomfortable video. I mean, I'm gonna talk about stuff like the age of consent and Islam. If that's just not something that you're interested in, I completely understand. You can go ahead and skip this one. But yeah, we're going to get into it. So the video revolves around a young man named Sneako. I feel like he's most well known for his debacle with Moist Critical / Penguins Zero. Moist Critical exposed Sneako for being a cuck because he showed the video where Sneako talks about how he and his ex-girlfriend went to a swinger party one time and he didn't enjoy the experience, is all I'll say. And I actually felt kind of bad for him in that instance because that was a video of him being very honest and vulnerable and talking about kind of a traumatic event in his life. And the internet basically dunked on him. At the same time, though, it was a little hard to feel bad for him because he's a very judgmental person and he's constantly shitting on other people and their lifestyles. But even still, I admit I did kind of feel bad for him. And then I think the other major thing that Moist Critical talked about in that video was how Sneako defends the film Cuties. If you don't remember Cuties, that was a movie that went viral a few years ago because it was a film that explicitly sexualizes minors. It has them in very revealing clothing, doing like sexual dances and whatnot. I haven't seen the movie myself because why would I ever want to do that? I don't really need to see the movie to just say the statement that sexualizing kids in any kind of situation is bad. Now, Sneako will defend the film by saying that the movie is actually exposing how social media warps kids' brains and gets them on TikTok to do these like sexy dances or whatever.
I agree that it's disgusting. I agree that those scenes are repulsive, but I think you can be repulsed by TikTok and pretty much what young girls are doing on social media every single day as well. I think that people outraged at that film should also be outraged at everything that girls are doing now on Instagram, TikTok, and all these apps.
And in that entire situation, he failed to understand the fundamental point that you can't do a bad thing in order to expose why the thing is bad.
Well, see, but here's the thing. So let's break it down to the very bare essentials. Can children consent?
Can children consent? No, they can't. We agree.
So then why do you think it's excusable to exploit them after having them sign up for this film? If you admit they can't consent, how can they possibly give the okay to be shaking their ass and having a camera all up in their shit while they're doing sexual things, like that scene where she takes a picture of her vagina, the scene where they're doing literal, like, toying around with cam sites, like, that's very different. Like, no one is disputing the message, right? It's
a I agree with the intention of the movie. I don't think that those scenes are good. That's what we completely agree on. But I think that was an important movie to point out how many people get sucked into this world.
Like, let's say I wanted to make a movie talking about how murder is bad. I can't hire an actor to commit an actual murder in order to show why murder is bad. I would be murdering somebody. At no point in that entire situation was Sneako able to like muster two brain cells to sizzle together and understand the argument that the movie sexualizes kids. It doesn't matter what reason it does it for. That is a bad thing to do. And so ever since that point, I've kind of just viewed Sneako as somebody that's either a grifter, right? Somebody that just like lies about what he believes in because he feels like it'll make him more money, or somebody that's just really stupid. I mean, it's one of those two. Anyways, fast forward to like 2024. The streamers Destiny and XQC and Cuffum, they're having a conversation, a very important conversation, a philosophical conversation about whether or not you should use the F slur when playing Call of Duty. Basically, the Cuffum guy, he said the slur while playing with XQC, and XQC doesn't really say that word on his streams. He doesn't like to play with people that say the word. His whole argument is that he doesn't want to make the gay people in his audience feel bad. And I think that's perfectly reasonable, right? Everybody's able to set their own boundaries and whatnot. And the Cuffin person wanted to make it clear that he doesn't actually hate gay people. He just uses the word and views it as trash talk. And the two of them came to understand each other's points of view. The world continued to spin around. Everything was okay. But who comes into the conversation? Why, it's none other than the Sneakster himself. The conversation eventually gets to a point where they start talking about how, well, the main reason why you probably shouldn't use the F slur is because making fun of somebody for being an F slur is kind of indicating that being gay is bad.
So if you make fun of somebody for being broke, right, usually it's because being broke is a bad thing. Nobody wants to be broke. Broke people don't want to be broke. If you make fun of somebody for being fat, well, nobody wants to be fat. Like, even fat people don't want to be fat. If you make somebody for being gay, well, the implication is that, like, being gay must be bad.
After that point, Sneako decides to kind of double down and say that, yes, being gay is a bad thing. In fact, it's like being a PDF file. He went there.
Thinking that being gay is bad doesn't mean you hate gays, right? Being fat is bad, I don't hate fat people. It's gross. According to the world, the same reason you tell pedophile that they should stop being attracted to kids. It's like you should have a morality about
Hold on.
that.
Why do you...
So we're at a point where Sneako holds the position that homosexuality is a morally bad thing. He even thinks it's bad in the same way that being a PDF file is bad. So, of course, he's then asked the question of, can you say why homosexuality is bad?
Because it's not how a relationship, because God says it's wrong.
And so then he's asked the obvious follow-up question, which is, okay, well, if Allah or God came to you tomorrow and said, actually, I changed my mind. Being a PDF file is okay, actually. Would it then be okay in your eyes? And then he says, well, no, because there would have to be a justification.
There has to be a justification for everything.
Oh, hold on. God has to
God didn't say it,
justify
though.
himself? God has to justify it? If you're talking about the need for a justification, then that means something's not good because God says it. It's only good because he's giving you whatever the justification is. So God saying things doesn't mean anything then.
In the span of 5 seconds, Sneako has just completely flip-flopped on his positions. At first, it's things are good or bad because God says it is. 5 seconds later, God's opinion on the matter is actually irrelevant because he needs to have a reason for changing his mind. What? Now, thankfully, they're able to get Sneako to give like an actual coherent reason as to why being a PDF file is bad, and it is because kids can't consent, right? That he gives that as a reason.
Because it's not, kids cannot consent.
There
Kids are
you
not
go.
able to make a
Good job.
decision.
Hey, Sneakster, what about the kids that were filming Cuties? They weren't able to consent either. This guy is just a complete joke. And so then Sneako is further pressed, and he's asked, okay, so you got there at the end. You understand why being a PDF file is bad. The kid can't consent. Why is being gay bad then, right? Like, if there are two consenting people of the same sex, why can't they consent to do whatever they want with each other?
It's not a bad thing. It's just not right. There's no purpose that it's serving. What are you doing that
The
for?
purpose it's serving is two people that love each other, might want to be in a relationship and build a household and do that together. That might be something they want to do.
It doesn't serve a greater purpose.
Every single thing in your life has to serve a greater purpose?
Exactly.
Sneako catches himself in 4K living a hedonistic lifestyle, and now he's saying that, oh no, but everything that you have to do has to serve a greater purpose. Like, the guy is just so beyond stupid. He doesn't have any foundation for his beliefs or why he believes them. He just comes up with this stuff on the fly. And then, so here's the kicker. At a certain point in the conversation, Destiny asks Sneako directly, what should the age of consent be? According to you, morality doesn't change. It's the same forever. What should the age of consent be?
I think it should be past at a developed age. Destiny.
What is a developed age? If you had to set a
It's
law for it, what would you set it? What would you set it
answer.
about?
I'd say it's a developed age.
Very sussy baka, sussy wussy amogus, and they try to get him to say what he thinks the age of consent should be. He refuses to. He just says, age of consent. The age of consent. The age of consent. And yeah, I'm just going to say it. I think 18's a good number. I think that one's all right. I think that's a decent one to go with. Now, the main reason why Sneako doesn't want to give an age of consent is because he is a grifter. He, in the past, has defended the fact that the Prophet Muhammad had a 9-year-old wife. Now, listen, I don't know, some Muslims don't think that he had a 9-year-old wife. I'm not going to sit here and give my take on what it is exactly because I haven't really looked into it. But what I do know for sure is that Sneako, and the past, has defended the 9-year-old wife. He thought that it was real, and he defends it.
And I understand now that a lot of the time the parents have better decision-making abilities than the woman, and it was a different time. And Muhammad, peace be upon him, was definitely not a pedophile. He had many wives. A lot of them were older than him. I think his first wife was 50 when he was 25, and he was friends with Aisha, peace be upon her. He was friends with her parents. So I don't think that that's an example of pedophilia, no.
Now when he's pressed on it, he's scared because not only has he defended it in the past, he's saying that morality doesn't change or whatever. So he is just trapped in a corner. He doesn't have a good answer to give. Honestly, for me, the funniest moment in the conversation is later on when Sneako says, the Quran doesn't have a specific age of consent.
No, in the Quran, it does not specify, it doesn't have an age. Like, you're going to go in circles about this forever?
So you're telling me that no, not all of your morality comes from the Quran. Part of it comes from you using your human logic to deduce what the age of consent should be. It's so stupid. This is one of the most wild conversations that I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen somebody completely just lay out what their worldview is and just consistently step on a rake and smack themselves in the face over and over and over again. So, listen, at the end of the day, do I think that Sneako is actually a PDF file? No, I personally don't. I just think he's a grifter. I think that it's just kind of trendy to convert to Islam on the internet for some reason, and Sneako just jumped on the bandwagon. I think he did the same thing when it came to the manosphere and like Fresh and Fit, and I think he's doing that with Islam. I would predict that at some point some new trend is going to come along and he's going to hop on that one. I think that's the main reason why he was so confused in this conversation, because he doesn't spend time thinking about these things. I think that like an actual Muslim person would be able to sit in this conversation and justify their ideas better. Because an actual engaged Muslim person would have actually spent time thinking about their religion, thinking about their beliefs. Sneako's just going in here with some Muslim talking points, and in 5 seconds, Destiny just like takes out the necessary Jenga blocks and the tower just comes collapsing in on itself. And I feel pretty confident that I'm right about this, because over a year ago, Sneako had a conversation with a prominent Muslim person about this very topic.
Wondering though, and I'm not trying to be offensive in any sense, but I've had debates with a lot of blue-haired feminists and these types of people. And when I talk about my interest in Islam, they bring up the fact that the Prophet Muhammad, he was married to a girl that was underage.
He's had over a year to think about this topic, come up with a coherent response to whenever people are going to question you about it, because obviously they're going to question you on the most attackable aspect of Islam, and he had nothing, because he doesn't actually care about the religion. He's just using it as a grift. Let me know what you think about any and all that I talked about here today, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.